Hi guys, Geechu64 here, and today we're going to be talking about Crisis on Infinite Earths, which is the final two episodes. I'm talking about the final two episodes in the Crisis on Infinite Earths CW crossover, and it wasn't good, guys. I'm sorry, I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. I did a review on the first three episodes already. Quick overview on what I thought about the first three episodes. I thought the first three episodes had some good moments in there, but overall, I think it was kind of a wasted potential, and it was just kind of a jumbled mess. Like, there's a lot of different things going on, and lots of side plots meant to fill out time, and it didn't really work for me. And it was a big waste of potential on Kevin Conroy coming in as Batman. That was a waste. The biggest waste was definitely Tom Welling coming back as Clark Kent from Smallville. I'm a huge Smallville fan, as I said in my last video, and I didn't like what they did with him here. It was kind of a waste. But the best way to sum up the first three episodes are a waste of potential, and I'll leave it at that. However, these last two episodes are worse. They're definitely worse. And I said, hey, maybe they'll fix some of this wasted potential in the next two episodes. No, they didn't. They spaced this out purposely because they knew these final two episodes were so much worse than the first three. That's the only thing I can think of. The only thing I can think of, because they are not good. So let's go ahead and break it down. Let's discuss it. Let's talk about it. And I'll share my thoughts, and you can share yours in the comments below. All right, let's kick this off. So we open up, and we got the Monitor, and he's traveling back to see the Dawn of Creation, and that creates the Anti-Monitor. And you're like, okay, cool. You get a little bit of backstory for the Anti-Monitor that they didn't really show before in this mini-series. All right, cool setup. Where are we going to go for here? Then we cut to all the heroes being at the vanishing point, or nowhere, whatever that place was called, where the Time Lords from Doctor Who stayed. I can't remember. I think it was Vanishing Point. I'm not really sure. Anyway, they're at in a time between time and a space between spaces, and they've been there for a while. You don't know how long. The Flash disappeared, so he went to Speed Force or whatever, and then you get this overview narration from the brand new character, the human character who's supposed to be the paragon of humanity, who is also Kevin from Supernatural. Yeah, anyway, so Kevin is I'm going to call him Kevin from now on. So Kevin is giving a narration as to how all the heroes feel, and they're dealing with the fact that, all the worlds have been destroyed and they're the only ones left. And then it cuts, and the Flash shows back up, and then they reveal that it's been months. More than 2 months. They've been at this vanishing point. And what a waste of potential. Again, you could actually cover some of them dealing with despair. You could deal with them doubting what they, if they can really save anything, what their next move is, arguing about stuff. Dealing with living in a place like there. The place is just a hellhole, basically. I don't know where the resources came from, but whatever. Anyway, you could show a lot of character moments, because there's been months of them living in this place and dealing with the fact that they basically lost. And they don't do that. They just waste that potential by just doing a narration from Kevin, a character we just met in the previous episode, saying, oh, well, this character feels this way, and this character is the paragon of so-and-so, and they are this, and is the paragon of so-and-so, and they feel that. And you're like, what? What a waste. And the reason why I'm saying this is a waste is because it's a waste of time. And as I move through talking about these next two episodes, you'll see exactly why I'm saying this is where some time should have been spent, not on the nonsense they spent it on in these other two episodes. Also, let me say this real quick. They got rid of the best character in this crossover, which was Brandon Routh Superman. Brandon Routh Superman. This is an actor you already have on the show. This is not an actor you're paying extra to come in and do guest spot on the show. Brandon Routh is on the show. He's in Legends of Tomorrow. Him being Superman and keeping him with the cast, why would you just get rid of him? And what do we get as a replacement? Lex Luthor. John Cryer, the 2.5 Men guy, is Lex Luthor. First off, again, I think that's a terrible casting. I haven't watched Supergirl since season 1. I did watch season 1, and them just getting rid of Brandon Routh's Superman to bring in this Lex Luthor is stupid. It's a stupid move. It's a dumb move, and it's just meant to, again, pad out time, which is how I felt for this, definitely for episode 4. Padding out time. Just a waste. And he also gives himself powers, which I'll get to in a second, but either way, you literally got rid of Brandon Routh's Superman, the only character that was really working and was a standout in the first 3 episodes. Well, he wasn't in the first episode, but over this miniseries, he was the only standout character that you wanted to see more from and could have used, and you didn't. You got rid of him. What a waste. So we get Oliver. He's now the Spectre. And I mentioned this before in my last video. Spectre just jumps out from behind a bush and is like, I'm the Spectre. Now you're the Spectre. All right? Yeah. Yeah, you're the Spectre now, Oliver. He's like, okay, sure. I'll ditch my friends and come with you now. What? Spectre is a cool character. I'm very familiar with the Spectre, and having Oliver be the Spectre is a good idea. If it was something that was built up on, and I thought maybe there was stuff in the actual show, like in the last season or so of Arrow, building up to that. But I talked to my friends who actually watch a show, and they said, no, yeah, he just kind of popped up out of nowhere. And I'm like, well, it feels that way, and that is stupid. What a waste. But the idea of Oliver being Spectre is fine. I mean, I'm okay with that. The way it's set up is stupid. So anyway, he's the new Spectre, and he finishes his training. He goes and rescues everybody from the Vanishing Point or nowhere, wherever the Time Lord place. And they're going through the Speed Force, and they have to pad out time. So they're like, oh, well, the Martian Manhunter and White Canary and whoever the other person, they get spread out throughout the Speed Force, and they're spread out in different memories of, it's dumb. It's convoluted and dumb. And it takes up about 15 to 20 minutes of this episode of him just kind of going around to re-get these guys so they could get out of the Speed Force. It's just such a dumb side plot. It doesn't do anything at all to help the story. And while this is going on, you got the Flash meeting Ezra Miller Flash from the DC movieverse. And I'm sorry, I hate Ezra Miller's Flash. I hate it. I hate it, hate it.
Hated this movie. Hated it.
To quote Roger Ebert, I hate it. I don't like him as Barry Allen. If he was a Flash, but not Barry Allen, and he was just some made-up Flash, I could accept it a little bit more. But the fact they try and say he's Barry Allen, he has none of the characteristics of Barry Allen, and I just don't like him as the Flash. I think it's just terrible casting. And, I mean, I guess you could say, hey, it's cool that they had a little crossover with the movieverse, but it's again, like most of what this miniseries was, it was kind of pointless. Anybody who was excited about that, that's cool. I understand why you would be. I'm just telling you, I didn't care about it, and that's mainly because I didn't like Ezra Miller Flash. Now, if he crossed over with one of the other characters, let's say Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot showed up, then I'd be like, holy, yeah, this is awesome. But I don't like Ezra Miller Flash, so I didn't like. I didn't care for it. I really didn't. And again, the whole Speed Force stuff it's just pointless. It's just meant to pad out time. And segueing from that, you have Supergirl and Lex Luthor and Kevin. I'm going to continue to call him Kevin from Supernatural because that's all, I don't even remember his name in this. I know his character is actually from the comics, but he's from the newer comics, and I stopped getting comics a few years ago because I just think that most of them are terrible. I very rarely get comics anymore, and that's kind of sad, but that's neither here nor there. Either way, so these three go back in time to stop the Monitor from going back in time to create the Anti-Monitor. However, that still makes no sense. How do you go back in time if everything's already destroyed? They don't address that at all. I mean, if everything's already destroyed, nothing exists, so there's nothing to go back in time to. So that's dumb. And what's dumber than that is that this whole side plot, again, doesn't matter. Lex Luthor obviously turns on Supergirl, and you find out he has powers. He's like, I gave myself powers whenever I replaced Brandon Routh's Superman, so yay. And so yeah, that whole side plot was dumb. You had Kevin talking to the Monitor and basically convincing him, hey, you know, we're really for real. Don't go back in time. And he's like, okay, I won't. You know, like, okay, I guess that's the end of it. And then they meet up with the Flash, whoever, and they try, you know, you find out that everything's still destroyed. And the Anti-Monitor is like, well, in all the little multiverses, at least one of the monitors came back and I was created. So your thing doesn't even matter. And I'm like, so what was the point of that? That and the Speed Force take up about 80% of this episode, and it does nothing. It's a nothing burger. Them being strewn across the Speed Force doesn't add a single thing to any of the characters. It just pads out time. Supergirl and Lex, that whole thing, again, adds nothing to the characters and just pads out time. The only thing you find out for that is that Lex Luthor's a bad guy, which we already know, and that Kevin can talk to people. Again, I mean, he's supposed to be the paragon of humanity, so I guess they're trying to show that by having him talk to somebody, but it doesn't really matter. And nothing here matters. Nothing in this episode matters. And then they segue, and they're at the Dawn of Time. And the Dawn of Time literally looks like the quarry that Fred Flintstone worked at in the cartoon. It's just a pit. It's like the pit from Parks and Rec that Chris Pratt just walked into. I fell into the pit. It literally looks like they just found some random abandoned landfill and just kind of cleaned it out and threw the guys in it and just put a little color grading on it. And like, yep, this is the Dawn of Time. I understand it's a TV show and they're on a budget and all that, but there's got to be something better than just throwing them in a pit and color grading it. So here at the Dawn of Time, they're fighting the ghost minions, the shadow ghost minions, the Dementors from Harry Potter. It doesn't matter. They're these little ghost shadow creatures, and they are so weak and so pointless. I don't think they land a single hit on anybody the whole time they're fighting. And even Kevin, the human Kevin with no powers, is literally punching at them like a maniac, and they're destroyed. He could punch him and they die. So a regular human can punch him and they die. So why do you need superpowers to fight these things? They are not menacing at all. At least in the previous crossover, in particular, Earth X, or the one where they fought the aliens. I don't remember what that was called. At least in that, when you had the minions, you felt like they could actually do some damage. They actually hit them. They actually did something. Nope, not here. They just float around, and all the actors kind of just wave their hands around, and they just plug in that, hey, yep, you definitely took out one of those shadow creatures. That's it. Just do this. I mean, it doesn't... No menace. No menace at all from these shadow creatures. Completely pointless. So Spectre fights the Monitor. Yeah, this is the fight we've been waiting for. This is the end. And I'm just thinking, wait, aren't we on episode 4? This is the end already? Okay, we'll see what happens. And then Oliver dies again. Oliver dies again. Oliver, the Spectre Oliver creates a new universe that spawns, and he dies again for the second time. And he died in episode 1. He died in episode 4 again. What a waste! What a stupid, pointless waste. If you're not familiar with the Spectre, the Spectre, him as the Spectre could be a cool idea. You could have him continue to be the Spectre in Overwatch on this universe and not have him involved, but you can always bring him back if you wanted to. He's basically separated from his family because he's the Spectre. That's a good... Why would you not just leave it off there? You don't have to kill him again when you just got done killing him 2 episodes prior. What a waste. Pointless. I mean... It was stupid. So he's dead, and then they all wake up, and there we go. We're kicking up. We're kicking off with the next episode, Aftermath. This is supposed to show what happens afterward. This basically has no connection. Calling this part Crisis on Infinite Earths is dumb. This is like an epilogue. This is like a pointless, jumbled mess. The last episode out of the 5 is definitely the worst. It's the most disconnected, the most jumbled mess of what is even happening out of all these episodes by far. And it's probably one of the worst CW episodes I've ever seen, ever. Real quick, before I continue on with episode 2. Anybody who is enjoying these CW shows, anybody who enjoyed this crossover, that's great. That's fine. And if you think that I'm only ragging on this because I just hate the CW shows, well, that's not correct, because I've been watching these shows since the beginning. I own Flash Season 1 on Blu-ray. I've met these actors because I love their shows. I met Stephen Amell, I met Daniel Panabaker, and Tom Cavanaugh. I also met Carlos Valdez, who was Cisco in Flash. I met him as well. I even cosplayed as Arrow. So obviously I like these shows. I met Katie Cassidy as well, who played the second Black Canary. I met Katie Lotz, who plays White Canary now and played Black Canary at the time. So look, as you can tell, I like the CW shows. Oh, I did. I think that they just gone off the deep end. And one of the main reasons for that is because these shows have lost their initial writers who wrote these shows. They aren't there anymore. They either left to new projects or got promoted and aren't in the writer's room anymore. So they have new writers in there, and you can tell they don't know what to do. I wasn't trying to just show you a bunch of pictures of me of these guys to show anything other than to prove that I am a CW fan, or rather I was. So the best way to sum up this final episode is a jumbled mess. You have randomly characters, waking up in this new world, and the only ones who remember anything is weird, that anything happened, are the Paragons, which again, these Paragons are basically just Captain Planet pointless labels that got thrown onto them. It means absolutely nothing. Again, it's just a waste of potential. So they're waking up in the world, and Martian Manhunter goes around and kind of just taps people on their head and makes them remember what happened. But only to, certain people, I guess. So Flash is all excited, and he's like, hey, we won. Our worlds are back. And then he, White Canary's like, oh, well, Oliver's still gone, and I'm like, well, he was gone before too. I mean, he's died like 47 times at this point, and you're just going to waste another episode trying to bring him back again. So pointless. But also I was thinking, Flash, why are you like so excited and talking to all these characters and spending all your time this entire episode? Iris isn't in this episode at all. His wife is not in this episode at all. Flash, in particular, was the biggest waste in this entire Crisis crossover. Flash should be the central point for these shows and for this miniseries, and it wasn't. Like, they've built up Crisis basically since season 1. Flash is involved in Crisis, and he didn't have hardly anything to do in all these 5 episodes. He didn't grow as a character. Grant Gustafson as Flash, I feel like he's phoning it in. I don't think he really cares anymore. Parts of that is basically because the dialogue is really terrible. So I can't even tell if it's just the dialogue's bad or he just doesn't care, because he feels like he's phoning it in. Like he doesn't feel like a character anymore. And this is the part with like I said, this comes down to what's wrong with these CW shows. Just bad writing. So Iris isn't even in this episode. Neither is Cisco. So you have 2 main Flash characters who aren't even here. And that's when you find out that Supergirl's Earth is on theirs, and as well as Black Lightning. Black Lightning finally shows back up. Again, a big waste. Black Lightning should have been more involved in this. He's actually a pretty cool character, and I liked his little bit in episode 3, but I mean, he just shows back up. He's back. He shows up to just help him for like one little section in episode 3, and then now he's back in this episode, and it just feels so disjointed. I guess you find out his world's connected to theirs too. So all these worlds have been merged together, right? But only the CW worlds. Only the CW worlds. So this was something I was thinking about while I was watching it. And they were showing all the worlds it was Earth Prime, and this is the only Earth. I'm like, so are you trying to say all the other shows don't exist anymore? Like the worlds other shows were in don't exist anymore? They do cover that at the end of this episode. And it implies that, yes, the other Earths do exist. So I guess they've been reshuffled. The Earths have been reshuffled. And it just so happens all the CW shows all land on the same Earth. I mean, that's what I got out of this episode. Because there's nothing else of significance that happens in this episode. The Anti-Monitor isn't dead again, so they got to fight him again. They have this convoluted plan of like, we're going to shrink him forever, like, what they do in Ant-Man. And you have everybody dealing with Oliver's death, so you bring back Diggle again. Diggle's this is the character that's been with Oliver Queen since the beginning. The strongest connection that Arrow has to any of the characters on the show is with Diggle, other than Felicity, who Felicity isn't in any of these episodes either. And Diggle's not there either time that he dies. And then, there's the other two characters. I don't even remember their names because I stopped watching Arrow around the time they were introduced. But yeah, they're dealing with Oliver's death again. This is something we already did. He already died. We have to deal with it again, all over again. We got to deal with Oliver's dead, which is most of this episode is White Canary. It's focused on White Canary, who I don't really care about her character all that much, and we've already dealt with this issue. So again, it's completely pointless. So the only point of this episode is just to say, hey, all the Earths are combined again, and Anti-Monitor is finally dead, and Oliver's dead too. That's it. I'm not even going to go too much into depth with this episode because it's just a jumbled mess. So in conclusion, I'd say the first 3 episodes are a waste of potential. But I'd say these final 2 episodes are an anticlimactic bore. At least there was some fun in those first 3 episodes. They were disappointing and a waste of potential, but there were some moments where I had some fun. I mean, again, the acting isn't good, the writing wasn't good, and it's a waste of potential, but there were some moments I felt like I was having some fun watching it. And that's fine. I mean, if that's all you get out of it, that's good. However, these final 2, just an anticlimactic bore, just a jumbled mess, bad writing, a bunch of stuff meant to just fill out time. You know what these final 2 episodes actually felt like, or rather the whole 5 episodes basically felt like this, but in particular the final 2. It's like some kids were playing with their toys and they just kind of started throwing them and smashing them together and like, yeah, this is having fun, and then just kind of threw them all up in the air and then left. That's kind of how this feels. You know what it honestly feels like? It feels like in the writer's room, they took a giant dartboard and then they just had all these stupid random plot ideas and they stuck all these little notes all over this giant dartboard, probably about 100 plus little plot ideas and side plots, and just started throwing darts at it. And then whatever the darts landed on, those were the things that were going to shoehorn into this overarching story. That's also what, hey man, I know 2 good analogies. No, but yeah, I didn't like Crisis on Infinite Earths. A big waste of potential. Again, if you enjoyed it, that's great. I thank you for at least hearing me out. If you're having fun, that's all it's really meant to do. I just didn't have fun with it, and I just wanted more. I wanted more out of it, and I really went into it with very little expectations as it was. So those are my thoughts on Crisis on Infinite Earths. I really wanted to complete my initial discussion review to kind of, because I'm a completionist, I guess. I just wanted to finish talking about it. I thought it was at least worthy of talking about, if nothing else. I would like to start talking about some things I really enjoy. I'm going to go see 1917 finally in theaters and hopefully get a review for that up pretty soon. And I've got some fun projects in the works as well. So positivity's happening, guys. Positivity. That's what I'm trying to maintain. So what did you guys think? Did you like Crisis on Infinite Earths? Again, if you liked it, that's great. Thank you for at least sitting through my video where I just kind of bashed it. Again, I thought the first 3 episodes were fairly decent. They weren't the best thing ever, but again, there was some fun to be had there. So I just didn't like these last 2 episodes. I thought they were terrible. But yeah, let me know. Thank you guys for sticking around this video. Thank you subscribers for continuing to be awesome. And if you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, share, do all the YouTube stuff, or don't. I'm not a beggar. I'm eTrue64 and I always tell you the truth.